All right. What does the Siebel client do? What we know of client? I told you that client is basically nothing but just how to present the data. Is it right?
Right.
All the processing of the logic, everything occurs in the server, and all the data is stored where?
Database.
In the database. So client is really nothing, just a presentation, right?
Yeah.
So use a standard web browser to display information, and that too, the client uses a web browser to get displayed. How does the Yahoo Messenger client get displayed? Does it use web browser?
Yeah.
No, it does not. It doesn't. Yahoo Messenger does not use.
Yeah. Nothing. Yeah.
But Mail Yahoo, does it use it?
Yeah.
Yes, does. Right. Siebel, does it do it?
No.
No, it uses Siebel. Internet Explorer use करता है ना? It uses the browser, right? Siebel is made in Internet Explorer में दिखता है आपको,
Alright.
right? So that means it is using the standard browser, the Internet Explorer. Standard web browser कौन सा वही है ना? Internet Explorer.
Yeah.
That is the only one, right?
Right.
So Yahoo Messenger does not. I just want to give you ideas. Ki, what does it really mean? Like for example, when you're using Word, does it use Internet Explorer?
No.
No. So it is another. It has its own client. Although it's not client server based, but still just for purposes, it's a different application. Whereas Siebel, although it's a different application, but it uses Internet Explorer to present itself.
Okay.
Right? So use a standard web browser. That's what it means. And we all know that it does. The only thing is we never knew, we never put it into perspective. Now we are putting it into perspective. Yes, it is. It is using a standard web browser to display information in the user interface with data retrieved from the Siebel database. We know that all the data is stored from in Siebel database, and Siebel clients basically just display that information in the user interface, right? So the user can see it. It just displays that information for you, right?
Yeah.
Access Siebel data differently based on client type. Not all connect through web server and Siebel web server extension. It is true, not all connect through web server and Siebel web server extension, but what does it really mean? It really means is some of the things require web server presence. For example, if something is published over the internet, Amazon.com, when you place an order, it goes to the web server first because it receives it over the internet protocol, HTTP protocol, so it receives it. So web server is required. Whereas Siebel request may not always be coming from the internet or in the manner the way internet works. Sometimes the request may be coming from internet or internet. That's not important. Important thing is that request, how does it come? In which protocol does it come? HTTP, something like that. So Siebel supports, some of the Siebel requests come through this thing and some do not come through this thing. Okay, we'll see which ones come through this thing, which one do not come through this thing. Some come directly, some do not come directly. Okay?
So internet is optional.
Exactly. But important thing is internet web service required whenever something is on the internet, always required.
Yeah.
But sometimes when the things are on the intranet also, we
Okay.
make them work the same way as it would have worked on internet. Okay? What I'm trying to say is, right, let's say there is one application. Okay? Yeah. See, for internet, we use a protocol called as HTTP. Okay? Right? You know that, right? I might have heard of it. It does not mean we use the protocol only for internet. We can use it for me and you also. For any software to other software, it can talk using that protocol. Okay? So प्रोटोकॉल के 10 यूज हैं, उनमें से एक यूज है इंटरनेट के लिए एक ही प्रोटोकॉल है. मेकिंग सेंस? ओके. सो इवन Siebel can talk, let's say Siebel can talk to Siebel client using internet protocol, that HTTP protocol, whatever it is. Okay?
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean that client has to be on the internet. It can be on intranet also, because that protocol gives it the flexibility to put it anywhere, put it on internet or as well as on internet. So why didn't they choose any other protocol? They did not use any other thing because then they would have not been able, then they would have had to have HTTP for internet, this thing for this other protocol for internet. But now having this HTTP, they are putting HTTP only everywhere. Same protocol for everyone. You got my point, right?
Yeah.
So when you are saying for internet so internet connectivity bhi hai, yes, wo to hai, that is the reason but it does not mean because of this there is. it can connect through the internet because of this, and through the internet also same using same technology. Okay, that's what just I want to make sure. Okay,
So even if it's not open, it opens everything in built-in.
so yeah, even if you are not on the internet, Siebel will open itself in Internet Explorer.
Yeah.
For example, your sample, this database.
Yes.
Do you need network connectivity for this? No. You take out the internet connection. That means you are connecting everything here.
Oh.
Once you are doing everything here, then then if you are connecting everything here, that means even when it is not a non-internet based application, it still opens in Internet Explorer.
Yeah.
You have a live example in front of
Yeah.
you. Is it right?
Yeah.
So yes, Siebel uses only this this way of publishing itself because of the fact that this can be used anywhere.
Oh.
So now only one protocol has to be implemented. Okay. Okay. Note. So we know the same architecture. The request goes from browser to web server, from web server to Siebel web server extension, from there to gateway, from there to enterprise, so on and so forth, and then back. It is the main thing that we are here for. 5 types deployed in internet or intranet environments. As we discussed, that is the main thing, you know. Siebel has 5 types deployed in internet or intranet environments. Siebel web client, Siebel wireless web client, Siebel handheld client, Siebel mobile web client, Siebel dedicated web client. Okay. The difference between all these is, let's see if it draws out a difference in the next. Yeah. Okay. Good. Access to Siebel data differs based on the client type. Okay, and you will choose a different client type when you have different requirements. Okay, so let's try to understand what are the differences. Web-built wireless web clients connect through web server. And wireless web client disconnects to web server. But web client talks to the web server. Okay, whereas handheld and mobile web clients, they connect to the gateway server, and they connect. They have a database, local database also.
Yeah.
Whereas dedicated web client connects directly to the Siebel database. Okay, what are the three or four types of connections? This is the most common connection, web client. This is the most common connection. Okay, this is second most common. Wireless web is the least common connection. Handheld is the very less common connection. Dedicated web client is a moderately common. It does happen, but not much. In Siebel 6, this was the only main connection. Dedicated web. Siebel web client and mobile web client, they came only in Siebel 7. That was the main thing in Siebel 7 which came, and because of which Siebel 7 became a hit. Why so? Because now you could put Siebel on the web also. But main thing was, you have to, in case of web client, there are many other differences. Let me see if he's drawing out all those differences here. Can have many differences, then I'll tell you. Look at this matrix. I've just put the level of used here. Web client is used like 10, mobile is 7, dedicated web is 5, wireless web client is 2, handheld is 2. You still do not know the difference, right? That's our main purpose, right? Yeah. Let me just get into the flow and I'll explain, how these are different. Okay. We know this thing also. The local database is present. Web client has no local database. Mobile client has a local database. Dedicated web has no local database. Wireless web client has no local database. Handheld has, yes, it does have a local database. We know it from here also. This is written, this is written. And that means we all know that having a local database means that it can be used for field operations, right? Like field sales, field service, or any kind of field work. Local database means that it can be used for field work, like field sales, field service, or any of the guys of maybe field marketing. Okay, so just written that point here. What is the difference between the 5? Installation required. No. Web client, no. Mobile, yes. Dedicated web, yes. Wireless web client, no. Handheld, yes. Let's discuss this thing in detail. Okay. prior to Siebel 6 or Siebel 7, basically in Siebel 6, Siebel used to have only dedicated web client or dedicated client. Actually, whether it is web or not, that doesn't matter much. What matters more is if you have to install Siebel, that means a lot of maintenance. आज मेरा Yahoo Messenger काम नहीं कर रहा था. But if an application is working on hotmail.com, can it happen that hotmail.com server is working, your internet connection is working, your internet explorer is working, but still your Hotmail is not opening? It cannot happen. But if you install an application here, sometimes it happens, right? Your Word does not open, your Excel does not open. Our these things were not working yesterday. You saw that we were so much bugged. Sometimes, whenever you have to install a software, always remember. Let's say you give it in a typical company. If there are 1,000 users, 1,000 users will be installing that software. And they might be having softwares, they might be having computers, they may not be having a well-maintained computers like yours. They might be installing things like anything on them. Viruses will come into their softwares. They'll put anything on it. Pawn, why not? They'll put everything on it. When they put all these things, it will make their computer system very, very vulnerable. When it is vulnerable and you install your software on it, it becomes your duty to correct the problems. The problems have been created by the users. So in general, what I mean is, if I am making a product, I would like to make it internet-based, internet browser-based, so that there is no installation problem. Because if I install my software, they'll call me, it's not working, and I'll be left troubleshooting because of this thing. Internet browser works on every machine. Whatever machine uses internet browser, it will work on that. If my software is installation-based software, that installation is required for this software. Do you think it will work on Macintosh? No. It will not work on. You have to make different software for different computers, different operating systems I have to make. Do you know that? Yes. Windows 2000 के लिए अलग, Windows 98 के लिए अलग, Windows 95 के लिए अलग, Windows XP के लिए अलग, XP Home के लिए अलग, XP Pro के लिए अलग. जो भी different चीजें होंगी वो सब बनानी पड़ेगी. First of all, my development cost is more. So Mr. Siebel thought, why not just make it an internet browser-based application? That way, no installation will be required. If no installation is required, I don't really have to do a lot of work making sure it is compatible with all the operating systems in the world. I just have to make sure that it is compatible with Internet Explorer. Internet Explorer will make sure it is compatible with everybody. Is it right? Mm-hmm. So whenever an installation is required, the developer of the software becomes queasy, confused. He's afraid. He starts disliking it. At the same time, there are some advantages of installation-based software. They are fast. Hotmail.com is slow. When you access Hotmail.com through Outlook Express, you saw, right? It is fast, very fast. Immediately you see the messages. But where is the trade-off? We'll see. Mr. Siebel thought, why not give them the both? Intelligent move. It is a win-win situation from every client. But most of the clients, which one will they prefer? The web client. Web client, because no installation required. 1,000 users, trust me, Hafiz. There are so different type of people. They will screw the whole application. They will screw their laptop. They'll install anything. They'll put yes. I think you need this plugin. Yes. You know, you wanna buy. You bought this. You want this laptop. You wanna place an order for this. Yes. Think you have to install this little plugin. Yes. Virus comes. Boom. They'll call you. My Siebel is not working. They will not say my laptop is not working. There is an issue. They'll say my Siebel is not working. And you'll be having issues. So and you'll be then troubleshooting your Siebel and you're finding out, there is no reason that you'll start working on it. Whereas in case of installation required, you'll say, is your Internet Explorer opening? No, go show somebody else. If it is working, Siebel will work. Because there is no installation that we have done. We are just making it publish everything in the Internet Explorer. Okay, to make this thing possible, Siebel has to do certain things. First of all, Siebel now cannot keep any file on the client. No database, no nothing on the client. The only thing it can do is give it message the way Hotmail.com sends a message to the internet browser. It will also send a message like that. Hotmail.com कैसे करता है? It extracts the data from server, makes it into an HTML page, then throws that HTML page. Last step is just throw that HTML page. Similarly, they have to get the data from Siebel, make it look good according to the UI templates, then generate HTML code for it, put it on the server. This is how it will be done,
Yeah.
right? So this last part is what basically makes the Internet Explorer this thing. So to win the whole game, you have to give, you know, when you install, did you install Siebel here?
Hmm.
Right? So that means you're not using the web client. You're using something else. We'll talk about that. Because in web client, no installation is required. It is like a URL. You go type cisco.com/Siebel URL. You enter user ID password, you see the whole thing. I can show you that in a few minutes. Okay? Let's talk about the names also. Names are as confusing as they could be. Mr. Siebel wanted to make a good sales pitch. He just gave web client, dedicated web client. People get confused, they think both are web, I don't know. But there are certain ideas behind all this, which is more important. Okay, so we'll go over the ideas. First idea is web client is no installation required. That means no files maintained on the client side. Okay, no files maintained on the client side. In hotmail.com, do you install anything?
No.
Just Internet Explorer.
Hmm.
Start using it. Similarly, in web client, you'll be just going there, just start using it. That's it. Just put the URL, you're ready to go. Okay?
Hmm.
Mobile client. In the mobile client, you have to install something. Always remember, whenever there is a local database, that means there is an installation involved. So that gives you enough hint that some installation has to be there. All right? Will it be hard to maintain? Yes. Let me tell you the issues that we faced in one of the clients that I worked for. After making Siebel, our project was to make it available to all the users. There were 1,000 users all across the United States. Okay? Had it been web client, let me tell you how it would have worked. By the way, no installation required, no files maintained on the client side, and rollout is very, very easy. I'll put the second one here, okay? Rollout is very easy. So rollout is very easy. What it means, when the software is developed, you have to give it to people, right?
Yeah.
So that they can use it. Guess what? Had it been web client, for those 1,000 users, it would have been very easy for us to roll out. How? Just come on the weekend, on Saturday, Sunday, put the files on the server, upgrade the server, right? Right?
Yeah.
But what happens in case of this thing? If you have to install something, you send them the CDs, they install it, then they call, I don't know where is this thing, where is that thing. Then you say, all right, this is when you install. They lose their productivity. The whole business might be closed for 7 days. Sir, this thing is not installed properly. Can you please send me your laptop? That's what happened. We did it for one of our clients, pharmaceutical company. They do sample disbursement, field sales. It was a must for them to have mobile clients. So they lived with all the perils of having a mobile client and having an installation-based client. They lived with it because of their business. But what is the cost to them? Huge. And many of the companies, what they do is, even if they have a sales force which is mobile in nature, they try to see if they can work in any way so that they can do away with mobile clients. Because mobile clients are hell. Did you see? I had to send them the CDs. The whole installation process took 10 days. After that, there was 20 days of problem resolution. Sir, my internet is not working. I don't see this record. I don't see that record. There are so many things that work with remote clients, with these mobile clients. It becomes really a hell. So nobody likes to install anything. As a developer, I would like to go with the thing which does not require any installation, so that there is less things to maintain. So maintenance cost is low if you're using a non-installation based client. Okay. For web client, no installation required. You think all these no files maintained on the client side, rollout is very easy, and maintenance cost is low. Are these applicable? Yes. Mobile, dedicated web, and handheld, these things require installation, so very difficult. Wireless web client, very less difficult because of the fact no installation required. Rollout cost is very low, right? Has it ever happened with you that in Yahoo Messenger you installed Yahoo Messenger, it did not work? Actually, it happened with me today. Yahoo Messenger 8 is not compatible with my company's servers. I installed it. They asked me to uninstall it and reinstall the previous version. They gave me the previous version. There is a proof. They gave me this previous version. This is Yahoo 7.5. They gave me this one, saying, "Can you please install this?" Yahoo. If I install Yahoo Messenger now, you'll see it will stop working right away. This 7.5 is fine. If I upgrade it to 8, it will stop working right away. Why it is happening? Because these are installation based. Yahoo Messenger has worked correctly for everybody so far, but sometimes things happen. You have to, when the thing is installation based, you have to have it, checked against firewalls, various kinds of operating system, various kinds of other software compatibility, so many other compatibilities it has to have in order for it to work. Whereas if the installation is not required, it's an Internet Explorer based application, you just have to check it with the Internet Explorer. If it works with IE, it will work. If it doesn't work with IE, it will not work. Making sense, sir? Alright, next one is speed. Are you here? Okay, next one is speed. See, this mobile and the handheld, which require a local database. उनमें तो speed अच्छी होगी. उनकी speed तो it does not matter whether, because they do not connect to the server. The message does not go all the way and comes back. So speed is okay there. I'm not talking about the speed. This concept is not applicable there. We just talk to the local thing. Opening a Microsoft Word on your laptop is not what we're talking about. It's just, but what we're talking about is when the database, local database receives the data and sends it to the server. So it is on a batch way. All the data that they collect during the day, all 25 transactions, they'll go in one go. So that's one thing. Let's talk about when it is applicable. Anything that is connected dedicatedly, this, and this, they are connected dedicatedly to the client. Which one is best? If you ask me, this is the fastest. As I said, this is very fast. Web client, although it is connected dedicatedly to the client, it is connected to this thing. It doesn't have a remote database. It requires the connectivity, but this is very slow. This is even slower, slowest. Okay, what is the difference? It is connecting directly to the database because all the files are installed here and all the files are located here. It manages to be fast. There are many reasons. We don't want to get into all that, but in general, as I said, in Outlook Express, when you install a client and use that client for the same hotmail.com, it will work faster than going to the hotmail.com. Internet Explorer based applications will be always slow. Do you know you can do chatting for Internet Explorer?
No.
You don't need Yahoo Messenger actually, client. You can do the chatting through the internet itself. Let me try. So now, because of the fact the web client is a non-installation based application, that is Internet Explorer based application, that means it is slower. There is another aspect to this thing, more functionality. A web client is directly limited by Internet Explorer because it runs under it. So if something Internet Explorer does not support, it cannot do that. Whereas in dedicated web client, this is your own development. You develop it. Whatever you want it to do, it will do. For example, like in Siebel, you get the context sensitive menu. When you click on Siebel, this menu belongs to which? Excel? Excel, right? Yes. This menu belongs to Excel, right? To Internet Explorer windows. I click on this thing. Whose menu is this thing? Explorer's menu, right? Internet Explorer menu, right? Whose menu is this thing? Explorer. Whose menu is this thing? This is Siebel menu, right? Do you think it is Internet Explorer menu? No, that's here now. Whatever the context sensitive menu is present here in google.com, here, whatever is, this is called as context sensitive menu. Wherever you click, it will give you the things that you can do right there. This is called as context sensitive menu. It is a software term, not a Siebel term. Context, C-O-N-T-E-X-T, sensitive menu. Okay, this Siebel menu, this is a Siebel menu. How is it possible today? Okay, let's go to Amazon.com and see what they do. This is Amazon.com menu, or this is Siebel menu, or this is Internet Explorer menu. This is IE menu, not Amazon.com. Nobody goes to this last extent. Even this is a Siebel Internet Explorer menu, different menu when you click on a picture, but this is a IE menu. This is an IE menu too. Different picture when you click on a hyperlink. Right click on a hyperlink. This is an IE menu. This is an IE menu. All these are IE menus. Context sensitive menus. So different contexts. But all are IE menus. IE, Internet Explorer. Okay. Whereas this one here is a Siebel menu. Okay. What I'm trying to say is Siebel had to provide all these things. They're waiting for this technology to come. This is how I see the things. They're waiting for this technology to come so that they can capture the controls of IE and put their own controls there. So that when people click on it, they can show the Siebel menu. Without this, Siebel cannot function. Right? Everybody uses this right-click menu. This is the most famous menu that everybody uses. If they want to insert a new record, they come here and insert a new record. If they want to save the record, they come here. They don't go here. Sorry, they don't go here to save the record. People don't like to go here in Siebel. Okay. Other thing is keyboard accelerators. See this? These are when you press Control N. Does something happen in the Internet Explorer or something happens in Siebel? Something happens in Siebel. Okay. Alt plus Enter. Control plus S. Something happens in Siebel or in Internet Explorer. Siebel. See, I press Control N and a new record is entered. Okay. If I press Control N, what will happen? It will try to insert a new record into it. It will throw an error saying that first name is a required field. Okay. I just press Control N. New record is entered. Okay. So what does it tell you? That these are the things which are present in web, in both the clients, web client as well as dedicated client. How does it help? It basically increases the productivity of the person. If you don't provide these basic controls to a person, then you cannot use Internet Explorer. So before Siebel 6, that's why Siebel didn't roll out these things in web client. So in those days, the only way out was send out the CDs during rollout, a lot of maintenance work, and so on and so forth. Now the things are easier. Siebel has at least both ways of connecting to the server. One is through this web client without any installation. Just access the Siebel 3 URL. The other one is through CDs. Perfect. You install it and so on and so forth. Okay. Tomorrow, let's say a new technology comes and a new requirement comes and they say we want this Word documentation to be generated automatically from Siebel. We can provide it in dedicated web. Siebel can think of providing it in dedicated web. But Siebel may not be able to provide it in the web client because it is directly limited by the limitations of IE. Right? It is limited by the limitations of IE. If IE does not support any interface with PDF, Siebel cannot do that either. Right? Yeah. But most of the things now IE can do. So Siebel will be able to do that too. Right? Yeah. So more functionality is possible. When you have your own client, more functionality is possible. When you don't have your own client, less functionality is possible. So web client is limited by Internet Explorer, whereas dedicated web is not limited by Internet Explorer. And Siebel provides both the kinds of clients. Which one is more famous? Web client. Because of the fact it is very easy to roll out. आज आप आए हो, कल को ये आते हैं. Today you are here. Tomorrow somebody else comes and says I need access to Siebel. User ID password. Just access. No installation required. No nothing required. No 2-hour activity. Siebel installation was 2-3 hour activity. It costs money to companies. This was minimum. The minimum. Because there is no customization, it is vanilla. When you do customizations, things do not work this way. Things show errors. So it will not be easy if installation is required. That is the rollout part. I'm rephrasing the things in the same different manner. If you look at it, it's a URL. See, BS Siebel test and start.enu. Ye raha iska pura naam. So this is a complete URL. You use this URL to get onto Siebel. Right? No installation is required. The only thing is They have rolled it out only to internet for security purposes. Otherwise, I could have accessed it over the internet. To make it accessible over the internet, they don't have to do anything in Siebel. They just have to go to the network and open a tab saying it is now accessible through internet also. But nothing on the Siebel. Just to let you know. And it will be accessible. Whereas, in case of dedicated web, they cannot just have it accessible to everybody. It's just impossible. Employees is possible, but not to customers. They cannot give out the CDs to customers. It is not an AOL service or anything, right? Everybody has to install CD. Very difficult. So this is URL. Now just think, it makes many other things possible. It makes so many other things possible. Because of this only, Siebel can work. Because of this only, Siebel can work with partners, different companies. If I'm HP, you are Compaq, I will send out the CDs to you? No. You have to access my application through the web, today's internet's world. So I can roll it out to other people without any issues. Just give them login and password. They can access and open it up on the internet. Whereas in the 6 days, you had to actually send them new CDs. Then you have to worry about the network connection between your home and their home. It has to be a secure network connection because dedicated client cannot work over the internet. That installation based client. So all these things are gone. This is a web client, complete web client, no installation required. Did you see I just use a URL to access this thing?
Yeah.
Okay. See, this is accessing an SRF here, and this is accessing a connect string on the server, Ansible QA, which means that it is something on the server. It is not a local file, right? You can see there is no path or anything. So when you see that there is no path, that means it's a local file. When it's a local file, that means it is the this is
Sitting on your computer.
not sitting on your computer. That's what I'm trying to say. It is not sitting on
Local file.
local connector. Look into this thing. This one is local. It is basically referring to a local file. See, it is installed on your C colon, this thing. This is the database where it is going. Remember that, remember this figure, this figure, this figure?
Yeah.
This is what that thing is. That file there, this file here is that box that I just showed you. Okay. Similarly, it is using a local SRF. Okay. Here, it's using a local SRF, which is going from C752 client object. And what is SRF? We'll discuss all this. Okay. But this means that there is something installed locally, and everything is local. Okay. But important thing is you should notice the difference that this is referring to a local database as well. So this is which one? This is this mobile web client, a local database. See, none of these have local database, right? Dedicated web, just this and this. You handled to Henny, so this is this one. Okay. So this is a local database. The one that I showed you was a local database. Then I showed you the web client, which does not require an installation, right? Right. Now I will show you the third one. आपने फर्क नोट कर लिया था ना तीनों में?
Yeah.
Connect string means the connection to the database. So it is connecting to something on the database, nothing here. And this is using a local SRF. Okay, so it is using some local SRF, local installation it is using, but it is connecting to the server. Whereas in this case, it is using an SRF on the server itself. वेब क्लाइंट है ना, सो SRF भी लोकल नहीं है, ये तो लोकल है ही नहीं, ये भी लोकल नहीं है, एवरीथिंग इज नॉट लोकल, इज नॉट यूजिंग एनीथिंग फ्रॉम हियर. सी दिस, इज इट राइटिंग सी कॉलन लिखा है नहीं ना, दैट मीन्स इट इज समथिंग ऑन द सर्वर. Okay, so it is not using the SRF. What is SRF? It's a very important file in Siebel. We'll discuss in detail in a few minutes. Okay, but this SRF is lying on the server. Okay, and in this case, this is your local. SRF is local. C column, so and so forth. This is also local, right? Local database is also there. In case of dedicated client, SRF is local, but connect string is not local. Is it right? Right?
case of dedicated.
Yep. The SRF is local, C column से है, लेकिन ये local नहीं, ये कहीं और पर है. दिख रहा है? So these are the things that you have to understand between this thing. इनमें और कुछ बड़ा फर्क है नहीं which will hit you. These are the only things which will hit you. These are three small things that will hit you. So you combine these two things, this one and this one, to really come to a very important conclusion. Whether the installation is there or not, whether the database is there or not. Okay. In case of web client, both are on server. No local database, no local SRF. In case of mobile, SRF is local, local database is local. In case of dedicated, local database is not local, but SRF is local. Okay, this is it written here also. If you see, mobile database is local, installation is required, so SRF is local. Here, SRF is local. Sorry, here SRF is not local, as well as database is not local. Here, database is not local, but SRF is local. That's why it's dedicated. So some installation is there. Okay. How does it matter? I told you. When installation is required, that means more headaches as far as maintenance is concerned. When installation is not required, less headaches. So web client is least headaches, but it is slow. This is little bit more headaches, but less slow. But there is no local database, so less headaches. Here too many headaches, because there is a local database also, and local installation also. So too many headaches. Too many headaches. Very less headaches, but still unuseful. We all know how many of us browse emails through on cell phone. So how can you do data entry on cell phone? I don't think so. So this is gone case. It's just there, no use. At least now. Tomorrow we might have cell phones which will be having big displays and big keyboards. We might use it. As on today, no use. Useless. Nobody uses cell phone. Okay. This thing I have written here. So now you know. I wrote this the first, but this is the kind of the last thing that I should say. Web client is the most used. Mobile is the next number of used. Dedicated web client. Why mobile is still more used? Because it provides mobility. This is impossible to provide mobility. It's impossible to provide mobility without mobile client. If there is a field sales, you have to give mobile client and live with the issues. Dedicated web. See, wherever dedicated web is there, web client will be basically good enough. Because local database is not there in dedicated web also. So what is the use? Dedicated web is extremely fast. Let's say there is a user who looks at a lot of data, million activities, something like that, like the data administrator. He has to look at all the data. So he will need a dedicated web. By the way, all the developers use dedicated web to work. Do they have to spend extra money to do that? No, because all are Internet Explorer based. They are okay. The only thing is they have to install Siebel on their desktops. Which they are developers with less issues, they can do that. So all developers use dedicated web. And Siebel Tools is a dedicated web solution. Yeah, the development environment of Siebel. Actually, that is not even dedicated web. It's dedicated. It does not use Internet Explorer to publish itself. So it's dedicated client. There is a sixth client also, which is not mentioned here. That was the client used in Siebel 6. It was not web based and it was dedicated only. There was no internet based client in those days. There was the only one was dedicated client. In fact, this dedicated clients, because of the fact dedicated client, there is a sixth client called as dedicated client. Okay. In this case, it does not use Internet Explorer. Even now, Siebel Tools is dedicated client. Advantage of dedicated client: so much flexibility, but too much headaches, too much maintenance headaches, too many rollout headaches. That's why it is not used. Tools, it is used by developers only. They just use Siebel dedicated client. Even now, in Siebel 6 days, everything used to be dedicated client. There was no web client. There is a thing called as thick client. Dedicated web and dedicated client. These, in case of Siebel clients, not Siebel users. This thing clients, not the Siebel tools. This is the only one which is thick. Thick in the sense something that has to be installed. Web client, because of the fact nothing has to be installed, it is sometimes called as thin client. Thin client. And there is another name for it. Zero footprint client. Zero footprint client. What does it mean? It means that जब ये चलता है तो कोई footprint नहीं छोड़ता. There is nothing on your this thing. When you access hotmail.com, there is nothing. It does not leave anything. No data here, no nothing here. To access hotmail.com, you don't need anything here. After accessing, you don't need anything here. Before accessing, you don't need anything here. That means zero footprint. There is no footprints of this thing. It's called a zero footprint client also. Okay. Dedicated client, can this be called a zero footprint? No. It requires an installation. It is exactly like this. It is exactly like this. Exactly like this. The only difference is between this and this is and tools. Okay. So this dedicated client is not present. Basically, dedicated, as I said, it is a non-IE based. Non-IE based. IE based. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll just make it like this, so that we can see everything in one go. Okay. I've just written everything here. If you want, you can copy it, or or whatever you want to do. Most of the differences are covered. If something comes up, we'll just take it. Okay. You can see it once again. I've just colored the things. These are the points along which we have drawn the differences. These are the different clients. These are their values for these various points. अभी हमारी बात चल रही थी what is a configuration file, what is a repository file, right? बाकी सब तो बड़ी इतनी इंपॉर्टेंट चीजें नहीं है. रिलेशन डेटाबेस हमें पता है. Our database is stored here. We know that the data is stored here. ठीक है. This is your this thing. ये शो कर रहा है कि कैसे तुम्हारा पेज बनता है. Okay, let's talk about that. How your page is delivered to you, client page, on the client, mobile, dedicated, all the clients. This is how they get the page. Okay, this is how they get the page. Now, what happens is there is something called as a CFG file. Yeah,
CFG.
yeah. You know what is the concept of a CFG file? Okay. For every application when it starts, it needs to know certain parameters in order for it to start. For a Yahoo Messenger, it needs only two parameters. One is login ID and password. Because it is not a very complicated application as such. But there are some very complicated applications, like in Yahoo Messenger also. It also needs one more parameter. How to connect. Do you know this? Set proxies and all that stuff. I'll show you what it means. If I set these parameters wrong, Yahoo will not start. So this is the third parameter it starts. The default is no proxies, and that's how most of the connections are. So that's why you don't need to do anything here. But if there is a proxy, then you have to mention the proxy and everything. And then it will use that proxy while starting next time. Okay? And if for any reason it does not start, These connection preferences you can set here. You can not do any other thing, but only the connection preferences you can start. So you must be thinking start करके ही अगर ये preference होनी है, the key is lying inside the room and the room is locked. It's of no use, right? So you should ask me this question. Hey, you know what? So this is the way. So this is the access to the key from outside the room. So the only thing is, so this is also you can set from here. Without connecting to Yahoo Messenger, you can set this thing. And this will help you in connecting if there is an issue, if there is a proxy. But if there is no proxy, this is the default. That's why nobody knows these things. But this is one other parameter that Yahoo needs in order to start. Did you know this?
No.
Okay, now you know. See, I'll put use proxies. Just as it will. It will not connect. It should not. It is not connecting. I go back and change the parameter to no proxies. No proxies. I already changed. Then you click sign in. Now this will connect. Let's say there are 150 such parameters which have to be put into Yahoo so that it can start. What is a good way? I'll give you two options. One is you give the list of all these 150 parameters to everybody in the world through Yahoo website. Say these are the 150 things you have to do before you sign into Yahoo.
Yeah.
Second one is you create a file. You create a file which has all these parameters written. Okay?
Yeah.
And then you give it to everybody. And when they say when they connect to Yahoo here in the beginning, they just click on the button here and get file. That file comes and goes to the right place. And all the parameters are written there. And when they start Yahoo automatically takes those parameters from there and starts it. Which one is a better option?
Yeah, fine.
Second one.
Yeah.
Less work. People will be making less errors.
Yeah.
150 parameters, dude. It's a lot of work. People will definitely make errors. They are human beings. They are not Superman. 150.
Yeah.
You know, there are people who do not know when the computer is not running. They don't know whether the first thing to check is power cord. They don't check that. They don't know anything. So if there are 150 parameters to be checked, they'll go crazy. Yahoo will go crazy listening to calls. Probably they'll be going out of business. They cannot keep doing this business. Who knows? Yahoo might be needing 150 parameters, and who knows that even get file is not required. When it is installing, that file is already built in. You see my point?
Yeah.
That's how it works. I was trying to look for that file. I didn't find it, but that's how it might be working, and that's how it works. Because Yahoo needs to know many things. What is your operating system? Is there any issue or anything like that? But Yahoo is automatically detecting that while installing, and then it's put it in the CFG in a parameter file, and then it is picking those parameters while starting every time. So Yahoo knows every time it starts, goes there and picks those. Three things it asks from you: user ID, password, and the connection. Even connection, if you see, is defaulted. How many people in the world know? I think 90% people will not know that connection also has to be set. You know it today,
Yeah.
but you're pretty you're very computer savvy. You have a computer and so forth, but you didn't know. You just think how many other people who do not have computer, who never seen computer, you are very less users of computer they wouldn't be knowing anything about it, right?
Yeah.
So similarly, there are other things which I might not be knowing. There are many other things which Yahoo might be setting before it starts. So Yahoo needs all these values before it starts. All these values can be delivered in the form of a file, like a CFG file. CFG file contains all the parameters that Siebel needs to start. I'll show you the CFG. These are all the parameters. दिख रहा है? इसमें से काफी सारे डिफॉल्ट हैं, but these can change the behavior of Siebel significantly. And many people who are into server administration, they know how to change these parameters in order to get the optimum performance from the server. From Actuate server, when you have to connect to Actuate, this is where the parameters will go. Oh man, it's hard to find the parameter also. Somewhere here you have to create a section. Wireless application parameters. These parameters, I don't know what all are this. So many parameters. What do you think? So, do you think you should be asked to enter all these parameters every time you start Siebel?
Yeah.
The best way, and these parameters are important and they can change. There are three things which could change in case of Yahoo. User ID, password, and connection, which could change, which could be different from people to people, right?
Yeah.
In Siebel, we have 150 such parameters. In Yahoo, we have 3. Is it right?
Yeah.
Server administrators, they use these parameters to fine-tune server and client performance. So now you understand why server administrators are separate from everybody, because they have to fine-tune these parameters. I do not know any of these things. That's why somebody calls me and says, Windows server administrators are big. No, we don't have any. Right? Even I don't know, so how will I teach you? So important parameters here are which SRF to be picked. I'll tell you what is an SRF. Which application to start. Which database to connect. Which database to connect. Okay, so and so forth. When Siebel is starting, you put all the parameters here. The developer puts all the parameters and gives it to users. User put it at the right place. So when they click on the icon knows where to go and get these parameters. It goes and get these parameters, pick all these parameters, get the parameters to start, then start in accordance with these parameters. How does developer make it? Most of the things are out of the box, outside defaulted, but they change certain things in accordance with what they need. That is the fundamental concept of CFG5. You can change these parameters. Not many people change it. They are mostly default. Important parameter that always changes is the SRF file. We'll talk about it. There are so many small other parameters which you will come to know along the way, and I'll tell you how they work. I think 3 or 4 are very important to us. Okay? Now SRF file. Let's talk about SRF file now. See what happens is, in case of Siebel, see when a developer makes certain changes, okay, to the application, he's changing the code, right? Where does all this code reside? Where does all these changes reside? They all reside in Siebel repository file. It is a repository of changes. Name suggests it is as if it is a repository of data. Siebel repository looks like repository of data, but it is not repository of data. Database is the repository of data. Siebel repository file is the repository of the changes. It is a kind of the delta code or the change code. Siebel is already written. All that configurations that you change, for example, in Siebel you can say, I want this screen name to look not accounts but account. This screen name to look, instead of account, I want it to look high level accounts. Something like on a screen name, view name, labels of the columns. You can configure all these things. Whatever you can configure in Siebel, okay, whatever you can configure in Siebel, all these changes, where will those reside? SRF. How does it matter? Remember we talked about dedicated client, this client, dedicated client, which uses a local SRF to still local SRF, see, is local. This one and this one and this one. All these 3 use local SRF, right? 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 How does it matter? What matters is, let's go back. What happens is, when Yahoo Messenger is giving out a new application, right? When they want to give out a new application, what do? You have to actually install something new. And sometimes it does not work. When Internet Explorer, do you have to uninstall and install something new, or just upgrade it? Just upgrade it, not uninstall and install. In case of certain softwares, you have to actually, like Adobe, every time you install Adobe, new installation is done. Did you know this? If you look at Adobe, you'll see Adobe 3, Adobe 4, Adobe 5, Adobe 6, Adobe 7. Until you uninstall everything else, it will not go. Right?
Yeah.
I don't know how it works, but I'm just trying to give you a good picture of what it means when you release a new software. Okay?
Yeah.
So releasing a new software is like this. Either you uninstall it, install. This is the worst. Would you like to do that with Yahoo Messenger and everything that you do?
Yeah.
Yeah, with Windows? Right? So that's the worst. Uninstall and install it. So in the order of preference, I've written it. Uninstall and install it back. That is the worst. Just upgrade it the way Yahoo Messenger works, the way Internet Explorer works. Third one is just put the deltas or changes in a file and put the file in a specific place. Specific place. No installation or upgrade required. Do you see the importance? Let's say there are 1000 users. I have to send them the upgrade kits now. Do these upgrades. They will upgrade the things, and that's when they will upgrade, will it always work with their configurations? No, it may not start working. Because of the reason there is an extra code there. In case of Siebel, rolling out new code is very easy. Actually, there is no code rollout. There is a thing called as SRF file which you just give to them. They put this SRF right at the specific space. No new installation, no new upgrade, no nothing. No tinkering with the system. No tinkering with the already installed software. Just give it the new SRF. While Siebel will start, it will take the SRF and it will publish the new things. The tabs will look different. Okay, I'll show you the sample SRF. Okay, so this is how it looks. It is a Siebel 5, Siebel.srf, Siebel dev1.srf. It is 23 MB, 24 MB. You need to that size. Okay, it is not a very big file, but how will you open it? Can you open it? No, you cannot open it. You have to open it using Siebel only. So Siebel has the power to open it. When you start Siebel client, it will open it. Which client? The ones which require installation, like local client, like handheld client, like dedicated client. They all use local SRF, right? So they will all use this thing. When they are opening, they will use this SRF file to open. And then they open and they will show the changes. If you give them a new SRF, all those changes, new changes will show up. So this Siebel is a pretty sophisticated program. You can change the behavior by not changing the code or the installed software. You can change the behavior by just giving it a new file. Did you see the difference?
Yeah.
You see your point? So this is pretty sophisticatedness of Siebel. That when you give it Siebel as that SRF file, it will pick it. All the changes are done. How many files did you need to? And is it like installation? When you are installing something, always remember you might be tinkering with the software. The way software is already hooked onto the operating system.
Yeah.
You know, the way operating system say hook up whoever, the way it is hooked onto the system, operating system, you are changing with that, you are tampering with that. That's what today Yahoo Messenger did with me. Just it was an upgrade from 7.5 to 8. It's changed my settings. And my Yahoo Messenger stopped working because of my operating system. But in case of Siebel, this situation can never arise. Why not? Because Siebel is not installing anything new software. It is not installing anything. It is just copying a file from one file to another. The way Siebel used to start before and work before, it is working the same way now. It is not working in any new way. You see my point? When Siebel starts, it is working in the same way. It is just maintaining the same connection with the operating system. It is not upgrading those connections or anything like that. It is working in the exact same manner. That is the keyword. It is just picking a different file this time. जैसे कि आपका Microsoft Word है, अगर आपने कोई फाइल खोल ली तो आपका Microsoft Word इसका मतलब पूरी तरह, let's say your Microsoft Word is there, you have a file. If you are able to open one file, that means Microsoft Word does not have any problem. You can open another file without any issues. Is it right, sir?
Yeah.
If one file is not open, will you say other file is opening? Will you say Microsoft Word has a problem? No. That means there is a problem in the file itself. This is the sophisticatedness of the Siebel. It is like Microsoft Word in this case, and it is treating the behavior of itself. It is determining the behavior of itself through a file, normal file, rather than Microsoft Word. If you want to change the behavior of Microsoft Word, what do you need to do? Do you need to make a new file or anything? No, you have to make a new software, write a different code, and upgrade the software. In case of Siebel, if you want to change the behavior of Siebel, just SRF file. Give it to Siebel. Siebel will not needs to be reinstalled or anything. Okay? So if you want to make a new release, make new changes to Siebel, just change that SRF. Why Siebel is famous? Because of this. That is why Siebel became hit. 5, 6 were hit because of this. In 7 they became even more hit because now when you roll out SRF, it used to be rolled out to 1000 people in case of dedicated client. Today because of the web client, you don't even need to do that. So no local SRF, no local database. Very good. Nothing. I want to roll out a new application to you. I'm rolling it out as if I'm rolling out Hotmail.com.
Yes, very good.
Just URL.
URL.
And in case people are using dedicated client, if they are using dedicated client, this one, this doesn't use a local database, but it uses a local SRI. Just give them a local SRI. In this case, it is still a big deal. Local SRF has to be new, local database has to be new when some changes get in. So obviously I would avoid this one very much now. This is the only cost involved in rolling out now. And all these pharma companies are paying a lot of money for this purpose. I don't mind it. It all comes here. Some of it comes here, not all. Some of it comes here, so I don't mind it. But you should know that this is what happens. There is an issue here. Mobile web. This one uses a local client, sorry, local SRF and a local database. Right? How would you know it? See, always remember whenever there is a local database, local SRF is also required. Only in this case, database is not local, but local SRF because it is dedicatedly connected. It is connected through the web server. That means web will do something for it. That will make sure remember that. That's it. And dedicated client, that tools client, that obviously needs database. That is obviously needs a local SRF. Okay. So now we know what is SRF and CFG. Let's see what is he saying in this. There is one more concept that we need to know before we go ahead. Template. When Siebel works, Siebel needs to publish everything here. Okay. I have a small question for you. This file edit menu in Siebel, the top menu in Siebel, that Siebel menu bar in Siebel 7, right? That is common to all pages. Do you think it should be loaded every time? When you go to Amazon.com, when you go to dial.google, let's say, right? See, Google icon is same, right? When I click on images, do you think the whole page went and the whole new page came? No, just this thing did not go anywhere. It remained there. Here, only some data went there. That Gaurav wants to now see video, so that request went there, came up. Now the whole thing has changed. Oh, because I put this thing. Okay. What am I trying to say? What I'm trying to say is, when the whole page is there, it makes a lot of sense to divide it into portions which will be kind of constant. There will be pages which actually will change. Making sense to you?
Yeah.
For example, in this case, all these images, everything will change, and this will change, but these will not change. If I go to the next page, these will not change. So isn't it better that these and this and this you make constant and keep it there? Just change the lower material. Okay. Dynamic content, static content, right? There is some static content, there is some dynamic content. On your page, you see how does Siebel achieve this thing. Siebel also uses the same thing. Siebel says, all right, I will keep this thing static on top. File edit menu, toolbar, and then rest of the things I will refresh. Applet obviously has to be refreshed from every view, but why does it have to refresh the other things? What about the Siebel menu buttons? Right? Nothing has to change. The only thing has to change is the applets and the view, and the screen tab bar will also remain the same. Right? It will just go here and there. What does it tell me? Siebel can be smart, so that's what Siebel does. So to publish Siebel's content onto this thing, it puts it in certain templates and then publishes it. Okay. So these are various templates like this one, this file edit menu and etc. These are in the form of a template. All these in the form of a template. All these tabs are in the form of a template. This label is in the form of a template. The drop down is in the form of a template, but the drop down values in the drop down are not of the template. They change every time. For every view, they are different. For accounts, they are my accounts. For content, they are my contacts. So they are different. But the drop down structure, that code has to be written somewhere, right?
Yeah.
That structure code is a constant.
Yeah.
Okay. These scroll bars, their width will change, but scroll bar has to be there. That structure, that will change. So Templates is third concept. Not very important. Always remember that. CFG and SRF are important. Actually, yeah, none of these guys. In case of server, when you're using through the URL, sorry, in case of web client, the CFG lies also on the server because there is no zero footprint, right? Nothing can be here, so you cannot put CFG here. So if Hafiz wants to access Siebel, the way he wants to access, his parameters will be lying on server. SRF will be lying on server too. What happens is this object manager, it uses these parameters. Yeah, configuration. First of all, CFG file will say which SRF file to pick. Right. So let's say you have 3 versions of your software. You will just put in the CFG the latest name. You will maintain the second one. Next day you want to say I want to just work on the last one. The reason, because let's say you're a tester. You're testing. Users will never do that. Users will always be using the latest version. But let's say you're a tester. So you can point it to the previous version. Keep all the versions there. Versions means the whole software has to be kept or something? No. No, just the SRF file. So maintain the 5 SRF files of 11th June, 11th May, 11th December. Point CFG file to that. What do you mean by point? Just write the name here. Give them different name. Siebel underscore dev, Siebel underscore December, Siebel underscore this thing. Whatever name you give, just put that name here. While starting, Siebel will pick that SRF automatically. That means mapping. जिसको mapping बोल दो ना ये map हो रही है. That's what it means. Okay. So Siebel while starting, we look at the CFG file, find out which SRF to be used, use that SRF, and use the templates, create the whole page and publish it here. Okay. CFG will tell which SRF, then SRF will be picked from here, then according to the templates, the page will be published here. Okay. Repository files, you see the configured application. The way it is writing is sometimes confusing, but that specifies the configured application. That means all the configurations, all the changes that are there. Okay. Siebel application components defined as. Did you notice something very interesting about Siebel? That Siebel is built on the go. Yahoo Messenger, there is some code written. This is the file. This is where the edit will be written. In Siebel, the code is not written like this. Put file, put edit. You know, it's a go see what is there to put. It's in the SRF. It brings that whatever needs to be put, fix it from there, then runs the code. Okay, now start building the application using these parameters. That is what that SRF file is, right? SRF file is the changes. So Siebel code is written in a very sophisticated manner. It is not written like this is this font, this is where this label will lie, this is where this label will lie. It says go check where the label should be. Then it gets the definition of the labels in the place of the labels and then builds the application. You see my point? Requires more coding, but gives more flexibility to the developers. While developers are making changes, they can just change that little file. They don't have to change the whole application. That is the beauty of Siebel. That's what it's saying. Data that specifies the application, that is the SRF file. That is where the specifications of the applications are. Is separate from the engine that executes the application. When Siebel starts or the engine starts, it does not know what should I put in the application. It goes to the SRF, gets all the stuff that it needs to put in the application. The applet, which applet should I put? You see my point? What color should I give? Remember there were pink and blue color. Yeah. What color should I give? All this it gets from the SRF file and then puts that color. You see my point? Mm-hmm. So Siebel engine is a very sophisticated thing. You see, it's very easy to write a code like you click on this application and it knows. Whereas in case of Siebel, it goes and checks somewhere and then gets that file and then can you do these things in Word also? You can do that. Many things can be changed in tools and options. You go to tools options, you can change many things. And it will do now things in accordance with how you write it. Have you done that? You see, in this, so you can write. It will start showing certain things and depending on what you want. Edit directly in cell. Allow cell drag and drop. So next, yeah, you can change many things here. You can change the behavior of entire Excel here. So when Excel will be starting next time, it will work in accordance with the things that you set here. Many times it happens. Well, but Siebel's engine is more smart. Even if some upgrade has to be done, Siebel just needs to know that. At the same time, let me tell you one very important thing. There is a thing called a Siebel upgrade also. 7 to 8 upgrade भी होती है. When you are releasing various version, changing the file edit and all those things, you simply change it in SRF. But sometimes you upgrade Siebel. Those upgrades are big projects, like 6 months projects. Rolling out a new SRF with a little change is a 3-day job in a typical project. It's a 2-day job, in a 1-day job, or is a 1-day job. But upgrading Siebel is a big thing, okay? And we are not. There is a thing called as upgrading Siebel. That is from 7 to 8 upgrade, 6 to 7 upgrade. Okay. In that, yes, a lot of headache is involved. But day to day, when you are rolling out new changes within 7.5, your company is using 7.5.3.4, something like that, and within that, a new feature has to be put. Then you don't need to upgrade. You just need to change the SRF. But if you want to upgrade from 7.5 to 8, then you have to do all that exercise. All the servers have to be upgraded. All the databases have to be upgraded. Everything has to be upgraded. Okay, that means a lot of work, and those are typically 6-7 months project. By the way, I was telling Naomi about it. What happens is, why do these people need to upgrade them? Why can't they just keep on changing the SRF? Upgrade in Siebel upgrades, they provide certain Siebel level changes. For example, some engine level changes. For example, Outlook support. Previously, Siebel did not have Outlook support. Now Siebel is providing Outlook support. Unfortunately, Siebel cannot do it with the SRF change. Siebel has to provide something else. Siebel has to provide new C++ code. The Siebel is written in C++. So that C++ code has to be changed. You cannot change that code. No developer in America is allowed. Only Siebel is allowed to change that code. So you have to change that code to make it work with Outlook. Then give you that easy way of working with Outlook. You just change few parameters, then Siebel will start working with Outlook. If you want that flexibility, you have to upgrade to new version of Siebel called as 7.8, which has a flexibility to work with Microsoft Outlook. Okay. Similarly, 7.8 works with tablet PC. Siebel 7 could not be installed on till Siebel 7.5. Siebel 7 could not be installed on tablet PC. But now 7.7 and 7.8 can be installed on tablet PC. You see, so this is an operating system level detail. So Siebel had to change its code a little bit, the C++ code. We don't need to worry about that C++ code, but we should know the meaning of upgrades versus new releases within the company. New releases within the company, upgrade means
Changing
6 months.
the project.
Big project, whole of IXO can work. The engine that executes the application is different from all the data that specifies the application. All the data that specifies the application is lying in which file? Yes. The engine that executes the application is something else. We'll see it. Okay, not a big deal. In any icon you go to an icon, right click and right click on properties. I copy this thing and I'll put it in a notepad. See this thing, this is the Siebel engine, Siebel exe file. When you are rolling out new Siebels, when you compile Siebel, you don't generate a new Siebel.exe, you generate a new CFG file. Do you remember when you used to code C++, used to compile new programs, used to generate new exe files?
Yes.
In Siebel you don't do that. In Siebel when you compile, you generate a new SRF. And Siebel.exe is changed only by Siebel. That when the things upgrade, then things change here. But on the other side, this CFG file, this specifies the SRF file, right? CFG file has the SRF name. Remember I showed you this one? See, this is where the SRF file is. So this is pretty much SRF written here, along with other things. So SRF is specified, and SRF is what is upgraded. If you make a new SRF, you put the name in the CFG file, in this CFG file, and then you mention that CFG file in the icon. Okay, so this is how you go. Object manager. The object manager is an engine. We know this. Object manager is pretty much the engine of the Siebel application. When we start Siebel, it's basically running the object manager. It initiates the object manager. Object manager goes to SRF, gets the Siebel parameters, application. Single and reusable. Same object manager for all applications, supports multiple users. All redundant information for you. But yes, it supports multiple users. Okay. We know that all the changes lie in repository file. Let's see what kind of 3 changes he's highlighting here. UI objects specify the data presentation. Applet. When you make a new applet, does it mean that Siebel has to be recompiled or anything? Siebel has to be recompiled, but it will generate an SRF file. That SRF file is enough. So all the UI objects like applets, views, all these things. All the business objects like business components, the business logic, remember? Fields and business logic, business objects. And data objects like tables and columns. Any table and column change you do, it will be in the SRF file. And object manager uses this to build the application at runtime. Runtime समझते हो? You know what is a runtime? It is a generic software word.
Yeah.
It really what it means is at runtime.
Yeah.
When is Siebel pre-built? No. Siebel is built at the runtime.
Yeah.
Siebel application. The application with the changes that you have made, is it pre-built lying somewhere? No. It is built at the runtime. Making sense?
Yeah. So when it's running, then at that time it gets SRF and make sure what to change.
Perfect. Configuration file. Remember we were saying so many parameters? Let us see what are the various categories of parameters he's highlighting. Gateway server, the name of gateway server is written. Gateway server is the load balancer through which all the requests go. Enterprise server, the server which is used by this object manager is lying inside a Siebel server which is lying inside the enterprise server. So the whole enterprise server is, don't need to worry that much. Repository file is mentioned in that. Application or server components are mentioned. File system is mentioned. Database server, that is important. Connect string is important because that determines, I showed you, right?
Yeah.
If it is local, it will show here. You can look at this parameter and see whether it's local or not. And let's information. Okay. So while initializing, some of the clients obtain initialization settings exclusively from the configuration file. इनको initialization settings बोल देते हैं. कभी-कभी configuration settings या parameters, initial parameters or the parameters to start in or the parameters to initialize itself. Siebel needs these parameters कि किस SRF को पकड़ना है मुझे इस बार कौन सा गेटवे के थ्रू जाना है, right? These ones use only these settings, whereas web client and wireless web client, they use not only configuration file but also the object manager, because of the fact they are through web server and they are zero footprint clients. Rest everything requires installation. They don't require installation, right? So they cannot start by themselves. They need first a method to initialize web object manager, and then they need to get the configuration file. So they get a lot of things from object manager components and web and configuration file. Just maybe you can, but are you able to make the link between these things? Yes. For web and wireless web clients, components reside on the server. We know that nothing resides on the local client. Actually, we know that, right? We know that. We know that web client runs through web server, right?
Yeah.
Right. We jump to number 20. Uses the mobile web client's local processing support and dedicated. It does not require zero. It has a zero footprint client, and no requirement for web server as WSA. We know that because of the fact that it connects directly to them. That's right. If this diagram is good for a server administrator, when he is installing stuff, he needs to know what he needs to install so that all these things function. For this thing to function, he has to install everything. For this thing to function, he has to install this. Then this will be available. For this thing to function, it has to install this, and this. So for a particular thing to function, for example, for this to function, it has to install everything from here to here, except this. For this thing to function, he has to install all this thing, web server also. Additional web server has to be installed, right? For it to function like here, he has to install this, and entire this thing. For this to function, this mobile admin client to function, he has to install these two, and all this, right? These will get automatically installed when you install, and this also he has to install, right? For a server administrator, we don't need to know it much, but it's good that you. It will take you a lot of time for you to understand what all you should, what kind of, like when you are preparing a solution for a client, for a new client, wherever you will go, they will already be, these are 25 dedicated client users, these are 700 web client users, these are 150 remote web client users, okay? So you wouldn't be deciding on that. But if it is a new implementation, then you will be deciding. Okay? Probably you will not go in a new implementation. You will go in an old implementation. RK is in a new implementation. So he is deciding. Toshi is an old implementation. He doesn't decide. It's not he is deciding, but people are deciding together, but it is being decided in front of him. Okay? But are you supposed to know just the basics? Just this basic. Tell you one thing. How many people are going to be having field sales? Oh, you're going to be. I would say it's a very maintenance costly activity. Let's not do that. If they want, okay, then we'll give you remote client, mobile client, mobile web client, whatever you want to call it. Remote client, mobile client, mobile web client. How many people are going to be accessing through this? Why don't you guys use web client? So all the people will be using web client. So we need 400 licenses. If 400 people will be using, these people they will be working a lot on the data. They will be seeing a lot of load of data. So they need to connect through the dedicated client, dedicated web client. The fourth one, this one, dedicated web client. So you will be deciding all that. You will be deciding all that. So this is how your discussion goes. Once they tell you what kind of sales they have, what kind of field sales work they have, what kind of requirement they have as far as access is concerned, this guy will be working a lot of data, that means dedicated web client. This guy will be working on less data. Most of the people will be web client people or remote client. These are the only three clients used. Hand-end client and wireless client, they are not used at all. So forget that. Okay. See, this is your thought process will be. You'll be asking them, how many field sales people do you have? If they say 50, you'll say, okay, mobile client. You obviously try to insist that they use the web client because web client is the easiest one to maintain, less costly to roll out, less costly to maintain. You'll say, okay, why don't you use the web client? Do they have access to the internet? If they do, if they always do, why don't they use the web client? But most probably field sales will not be having access to the internet, so they will have to use the mobile. Dedicated. You'll ask them a question. These people work on a lot of data, so their page does not refresh because of the fact that they access to web client. So then you will say, okay, I will give them dedicated web client. Usually it will be like 25 people in a company, not many. Other people who are in the company sitting on the desk within the building, they will all be using web client. That is your most popular client. That is the one you are supposed to use. All the people will be using web client. Some people, very few people will be having access to dedicated web because of the fact. When you are installing Siebel tools on your laptop, what client will be? Dedicated, not dedicated web. Dedicated client. It will not be Internet Explorer based client. Let me show you that. I forgot to show you that.